Why would an NFL playoff format not transfer well into college football? A very simple concept here, but there are a lot of different schools of thought. A lot of people look at the NFL and they see, boy, there are more playoff teams in the NFL and these playoffs are exciting. Why wouldn't you want that in college football? Well, the answer is simple. If we had 32 college football teams and college football teams were not entities attached to universities, if they were just built solely as football teams, and there was a ton of parity and equity-based approaches to building college football, I'd want an expanded playoff because we would probably get something that mirrored what we get in the NFL. That is not what we have. To be clear, think about what is the NFL? The NFL stands for National Football League. It is something that was solely built to produce professional football to you as entertainment. And everything they did about building it was built with competitive equity in mind. So no one built the NFL to say, let's make sure small market teams are disadvantaged relative to major market teams. They did the opposite. They built the entire sport because there was nothing else they were beholden to. So they built the entire sport to be equitable and be completely equal. There's nothing too tall, nothing too short. Everything looks very similar from 50,000 feet so that week to week anything can happen. When you have that, I don't really care how big your playoff is. Because, it's going to be competitive from the regular season perspective, and therefore the variance in the very good and the kind of good and the not so good, it's inches compared to feet and yards in college football. The NFL, it's a platform that was built for football. College football was not built for football at all. In fact, college football didn't even exist. We built universities as entities of higher education. And then eventually someone came along and said, how about some extracurricular activities to do at these schools? And people said, okay. And then one of them ended up being football. But by the time you started playing football at every university, some of them started 50 years before the other. Some of them were parked with prestigious names attached to them that had very deep pockets. Some of them were in portions of the country where it's just more conducive to playing that kind of sport outside 24/7, 365. The point being, there was never a prayer that college football, as it was constructed, was going to be equitable and was going to be built with competitive balance in mind. It was never going to be that way. And it's not today. And what aggravates me to no end is listening to and watching coverage of our sport where people spend all day, every day, 7 days a week saying, how do we get balance in this sport? I've got the answer for you. You don't. Stop wasting your time. Move along. Go take a baking class. Move on to something else that could actually produce or yield a result for you down the road. Trying to get balance in this sport's not going to happen. So the question was, why wouldn't that playoff format work? Well, it would technically work, like they could carry it out. It would fundamentally ruin what I love and what many people love about this sport. And I would also add this. It would ruin it for some of you, and you don't realize it would ruin it. You wouldn't realize it until it was too late. But the reason that wouldn't work out is for what I just said. If you took the principles that are applied in order to get what we get in the NFL, that means we would have to view all division winners as equal and conference winners as equal, if you want to phrase it that way, in college football. And in the NFL, I'm okay with that. Because whether you win the AFC East or the NFC South, you have done something that clears enough of a competitive hurdle that you automatically should have an auto bid into a playoff. In college football, think about how vast the gulf is any given year between saying, I just won the SEC versus I just won the Pac-12 or I just won the American Athletic Conference. But yet I got some folks out there, a lot of y'all, who watch college football and say, how come we can't do it exactly like the NFL does? Well, because it's not the NFL. In fact, other than the shape of the football and the size of the field, there's not much semblance between the NFL product and college football. So I have no interest in it. And also, I go back to what I've said many times, and I'm tired of repeating it. And this is me personally speaking now, and this is all I can go on as my opinion. I don't watch college football for the same reasons I watch the NFL. I watch the NFL, and always have, with one eye towards the playoff. And everything is about how this impacts that playoff down the road. You always got your eyes cut over there towards late December, early January. That's great. It's a great product. It's just that college football doesn't have to be the mirror equal of the NFL. I could watch that on Sunday and think that way on Sunday and also watch the product on Saturday and be completely fine with week 3 meaning everything in the world. No, I was at the Oklahoma-Baylor game, and Baylor upsets Oklahoma. Baylor storms the field. And I remember thinking that day when I was flying home that night, you know what was great about today is I wasn't really looking as that field was being stormed or as I was in Dave Aranda's post-game press conference or we were doing our live hits after the game. I wasn't thinking about the playoff. I was just thinking about how great this day was. To me, that's college football. Saturdays in the fall, that's what college football has always been about to me. So that's why it wouldn't work for me. I know. A lot of you think, okay, if you like that now, then an expanded playoff would only give you more of that. No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. Because that day, for example, in Waco, Oklahoma would not have walked out of there knowing their playoff chances were all but done. Therefore, that game wouldn't have been played with that kind of urgency. Therefore, it would not have been as must-see as it was. Therefore, the very fabric of what makes Saturdays in the fall what they've always been your entire life would be gone. You would have sacrificed that for a shot at having, I don't know, a couple of extra playoff games at the end of the year. I've never been about it. It's never appealed to me, so that's where I stand on that.